At the time of this recording, 91 people have lost their lives from the floods in Texas, including 27 campers at an all-girls Christian camp. How do we make sense of this unimaginable tragedy? Billy, how do you process this?
It's tough. I think we have to start with the fact that this is difficult. And I think a lot of times in life, we want to simplify things for the sake of our emotions and our feelings. We want a simple, quick answer. And in situations like this, it requires deep questioning. I think it's okay to ask questions that feel uncomfortable. I think the big question people are asking right now is, how can a good God allow this, right? You'll hear that a lot in these sorts of circumstances because it's a little more difficult than when somebody, let's say, goes and does something horrific, like when there's a shooting or there's an event that is, horrific, but you can explain, oh, that person was overtaken by evil. They did something, they used their free will. When it's a natural disaster, it becomes a little more difficult for people. And so, I find myself asking those questions and looking to scripture and going to prayer and asking God. I think it's important to do that. So I could go on and on about that, but I think being able to be honest with God and ask those questions of him and understand that he is sovereign over all things, even those things that we do not understand.
I've been thinking about this, and if you will, and you're watching, if you would just give maybe a couple minutes for us to just kind of sit here in this moment together. I have 3 young boys, and this hits so much harder than almost any other news story. I cannot imagine what the parents are going through. And I think the knee-jerk reaction sometimes is like, oh, well, God's good, like everything's fine. It's like, no, I think we should mourn with those who mourn. But I'm going to paraphrase something I heard John Lennox say once, and hopefully this is helpful. The problem of suffering, right? Like, how do we process this? And all worldviews need to take into account this problem. If you're an atheist, well, then there's no justice. There's no silver lining. We are just accidental cosmic space dust, and at the end of the day, nothing matters, and there's no hope. And other, religions, Buddhism, like just don't have desires. Like I know you miss your kids, but just don't. Which to me is just ridiculous. And then there are other worldviews, but I think what's so helpful about the God of the Bible is that everyone has to deal with suffering. But uniquely, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the form of Yeshua steps into that suffering with us. He doesn't stay distant. We have a great high priest who is able to sympathize with our suffering. Doesn't mean the suffering goes away. You will have trouble in this world. And there's no platitudes that make you feel any better. I mean, I think an important verse is Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. I can't even imagine if you're watching this and you're one of those parents, how crushed in spirit you must feel in this moment. And I know my words must seem so empty. But my humble encouragement is this. Only Yeshua is there with you in it. Only Yeshua has experienced it as well. He sees the pain and the suffering and the tragedy, and he doesn't stand off and say, well, don't desire, or, well, you're accidental space dust, or, well, you deserve it. He says, me too. Me too. I felt the pain. I felt the grief. And so, again, I know that everything I'm almost saying, it almost seems like flimsy coming out of my mouth. Because again, if something happened to my boys, I sure as heck would not want to be hearing some guy talk about this. But I think what is unique about Yeshua is that he is with your daughters right now. He is with the people right now. He is Emmanuel, God with us. He isn't some distant ethos thingy that, someone wrote about a mountain. He came and lived a very tangible human life and experienced it with you. And so my encouragement to you is just to cling to him because he's not distant. He is close to the brokenhearted. But Billy, I know there's not that there's any silver linings to this story, but I know there's been some stories that at least can give us some hope. Can you share maybe one or two of those?
Yeah, I think it's heartbreaking, but also gives, hope because it sets an example. I mean, this man, Dick Eastland, he was the owner of Camp Mystic, and he was a third generation owner, I believe, since 1974. He and his wife, Tweety, they owned the camp, poured their life into the camp. If you look at some of the people who are out there talking about Camp Mystic and how much this camp meant to them, he was a fixture of that, caring for these girls, loving them, just being there for them as the owner of that camp. He reportedly lost his life, but in the process, when he lost his life, he was trying to, as far as we understand, rescue those girls, rescue those campers, trying to get to them. And you think about the selflessness in that, because so often when something happens, our first go-to is self-protection, right? To run to safety. And we've had a chance to even talk to a person who knew him, Dr. Jim Dennison, who told us that this is the kind of guy who would run towards the fire, run towards the flood, run towards danger to save other people. He shared some stories about their relationship and the things he saw from him. So this was not surprising to him. But the point is, you talk about loving other people more than yourself, this calling that we have in Scripture that is so difficult to live out because we want our human inclination is to love ourselves first, right? To put ourselves first. Dick did not do that from what we know. He lost his life trying to save young people. And that's just one of the stories that in the midst of this has stood out. There are other stories as well. There's Scott Ruskin. He's Petty Officer Third Class Scott Ruskin. He was a U.S. Coast Guard rescue swimmer from New Jersey. He has been praised for his efforts to save almost 200 victims,
Wow.
swimming out, rescuing them. So we're seeing these people who are giving of themselves, even giving their lives as they are trying to save others. And so it doesn't wipe away this pain and the horror that we're watching. But what it does do is it reminds us that there are people living out that call to love others more than they love themselves. And that has been a powerful scene to see.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, obviously, keep it right here on CBN News. We will be updating you on this unimaginable tragedy. But as for now, Billy, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.